Looking back from this ancient of times to 1965, those were days of a height of anxiety within the church, an uncertainty. Many of us were new to the parish ministry. Several of us had been involved in marches in Richmond and Greensboro. Others of us had had our parish time cut short due to involvement in demonstrations. I, for one, in Mooresville, when with the UPUSA pastor, we appeared before the city council to integrate the swimming pools in the hot summertime. And I was quite young, 25 years of age. And I made an appeal that this was equity, this was justice, and we needed to do this. All prompted because I had been tuned in to this one Dr. Martin Luther King. Unbeknown to me, in my innocence, the city judge was sitting there that happened to be my clerk of session. After that was over, I returned to the church and we had a session meeting, and I was informed, "Young man, you cannot do that." And I asked, "Why?" He says, "Because you represent us. And this whole racial thing is tearing the church apart. And you represent us." And I said, "Oh, sir, I thought I represented Jesus Christ." There was a sudden silence, and the handwriting became clear. And I was in that parish a few months more, but fortunately had another call. That's the type of anxiety that was there. Calvin Houston, my classmate at Union, had a cross burned in his yard, came up and shared with us here in Montreat about that. He was elected to be the chaperone for the kids from Alabama coming to Montreat for the big mission conference. And when they found out that Calvin was other than Caucasian, Calvin had to fly up on an airplane because they did not want their children riding with him on the bus. And then he met them at the airport, was their counselor here, visited with us, laughing about it, and flew back by plane while they went back by bus. That was the context in which we were doing ministry in 1965. And surrounding Martin Luther King's coming here was that sense of anxiety. We knew he was right. We knew what justice tended to point us toward, but how were we going to get there? And Malcolm Calhoun had the great insight to invite Martin Luther King to a conference here, and we had that conference. Security was everywhere. No one knew what would happen. When I was walking across campus I was here for a 2 weeks vacation. When I was walking across campus, Ben Lacey Rose, my homiletics professor of just 5 years before, saw me and said, "Hey, Jack, you going over to hear Martin Luther King?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, come on, we'll go together." And we sat there and listened to this man, eloquent, beautiful, speech just rolling out. And when it was over, we were walking across the green going over to the inn. Ben Lacey Rose turned to me and said, "Jack, that has to be one of the most impressive sermons I have ever heard in my life." And I think it was. That was the context that was going on. And of course, that anxiety showed up in that Martin Luther spoke for almost an hour, a little less than an hour. And when it was over, there was a dead silence, probably 10 seconds. That felt like 10 minutes to me. And then someone started applauding, and then everyone applauded and stood up, and there was a great relief when that was over. But I told someone that was the first time I had seen African-American patrolmen surrounding someone, and that was part of his security. Security was very heavy. I think the forces here felt like there might be guns involved or an attempt on Martin Luther King's life here. Fortunately, he flew in from Watts, did his speech, left, and left a great imprint upon us. I'm glad we're having this conference this August in order not only to remember, but as we say, to complete the work that's been going on for 50 years. We are a long ways from being there.